Some Easter eggs in video games are ones we can't get out of our minds. Sometimes for maybe a little bit more risque, immature, or otherwise kinda crude reasons. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 naughty Easter eggs we can't unsee. Starting off with number 10, Assassin's Creed 3 has a moment where Benjamin Franklin offers some advice. Assassin's Creed 3 is a game set during the American War of Independence, and like many other games in the series, it tries to take a look at some of the lesser-known parts of well-known history, for better or worse. One thing that may be somewhat shocking to people is how the game chooses to depict Benjamin Franklin. You know, the old guy with the little glasses, sometimes referred to as the founding grandfather, the guy with the kite who discovered electricity. You know, not really. We're used to seeing him as a sort of intellectual and witty type, but the game shows a slightly lesser known side to the character. At the start of the game, you can talk to him in his store. He'll go off on a pretty off-color rant about taking older women as your mistress.
Older women cannot conceive, which means one less thing over which to fret. In fact, you also decrease the chance of acquiring something like the French pox, its presence clearly visible, or the woman dead.
I'm sure a lot of players got to this part and were like, what on earth is he talking about? Because seriously, it's a little gross. But here's the thing, it's almost verbatim taken from something the actual real man himself wrote. A letter called Advice to a Friend on Choosing a Mistress, which was written in 1745, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Franklin actually wrote a lot of stuff like this. It's satirical, it's at least partially meant to be funny, but it's still kind of shocking if you don't know about it. This is a man who wrote an essay called, and I'm totally serious here, Fart Proudly. Yeah, this is less wish we could unsee and more wish we could hear more. The guy said you should say wish we could unhear, but I don't. This stuff is hilarious.
You mad bastard.
At number 9, it's the Naughty Gnomes from GTA 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a game that has no shortage of risque or even nasty stuff in it, and that goes for its Easter eggs as well. There are an absolute ton of them. Hell, we did a whole video about it, but here's one that didn't get mentioned. In the Vinewood Hills, there's a house with some garden gnomes in front of it. You might not even notice them the first time you pass by the area, but if you stop and look, well, one of them has their pants down. Yeah, for some reason, the developers at Rockstar included a gnome exposing its butt in the game. Is it mooning you? Is it supposed to be some kind of sex thing? I don't know, but it is bizarre and a little bit uncomfortable. If you're one of those people who just find garden gnomes a little creepy, well, this is not going to change that. Like we said, there's a boatload of adult humor in GTA 5 and GTA series in general, but this is definitely one that we kind of wish we could unsee. At number 8, you can catch a guy taking a dump in Red Dead Redemption 2. Oh yeah, we're just saying it like that. Taking a dump. Naughty Easter eggs come in all forms, and here is an example of the more scatological variety. Yeah, I didn't mean to say it like that. The reason this is funny is because it's repulsive. During one of the earlier missions of the game called Polite Society, Valentine style, you know, the one where you take the camp ladies to Valentine along with Uncle. When you go into the hotel to search for Karen Jones, you don't have to go directly to the room she's in. Instead, if you bust into one of the other rooms, you find this guy named Harville Presley, and he's squatting on the chamber pot.
Oh, get the hell out of here, will you? Sorry. Wrong room.
It is a disgusting reminder of what people had to put up with before the widespread use of indoor plumbing, and it is rendered in the usual level of Rockstar detail, so a lot. Very detailed. Too detailed. One of the weirdest things about this guy, who you might see for all of 2 seconds, is that he's got a lot of details about him. He's got a name, he's mentioned in the newspaper, which even says he's suffering from a bowel disease after eating a church potluck supper. So the whole thing is both gross and like weirdly detailed, so pretty much par for the course with Rockstar. And number 7 is a urinal conversation from Deadpool. The Deadpool game is wild, to say the very least. It is filled with goofy humor, fourth wall breaking jokes, of course, and, as you might have expected, some pretty rude stuff. Even though this game actually came out before the movie, it definitely seems like the movie might have drawn some inspiration from it. In one of the more bizarre sequences in a game, which is frankly full of them, it's possible to stop at this urinal where 2 guards are taking a leak. It's just on this random wall for some reason, and if you interact with it, Deadpool will use the empty stall between them.
Dicks hang out here often? Get it with the dicks. Dude, seriously?
The pee-pee song. I'm gonna sing the pee-pee song. Nice dick.
One of the funnier bits in this is the fact that you have to choose to leave the urinal, so you can just keep peeing for a really unnatural amount of time, with Deadpool making increasingly bizarre comments about how long he's peeing and how awkward the situation is. At the end, of course, he just kills the two guys. I mean, it's Deadpool, what did you expect? It's a goofy non sequitur in a game that is absolutely filled with them.
Haven't trained the old lizard since level 1.
Dude, don't talk while I pee, alright?
Number 6 is the lusty Argonian maid from the Elder Scrolls series. This is an absolute classic. Most of the books in the Elder Scrolls games are stuffy tomes filled with the histories of the various fantasy realms, treatises on gods, stories of great heroes, and magical wonders, all of the stuff you'd expect in a fantasy game. But once in a while, you'll find one of these books, The Lusty Argonian Maid. You know, the weird lizard-looking race, Argonians. These things are intentionally embarrassing, filled with single entendres and, like, painfully corny puns. Like, they're so intentionally goofy that they gained a lot of notoriety. By the time Skyrim came out, these books basically an essential part of the Elder Scrolls series. Like, people wouldn't accept a new game without a few of these volumes of ridiculous books. The first appearance was in Morrowind, actually. You could steal one from a dude in Vivek City. Oblivion and Skyrim added a lot more volumes after that, each one found in a very specific location in the world. It's basically just the writers having some fun by putting something really goofy in. And considering all the serious books you normally find, it does break up the tone. But if you ever tried reading some of these things, there's definitely some parts you wish you could unsee. At number 5 is an unfortunate end from Fallout 3. At the Citadel ruins of Fallout 3, there's a skeleton with a fan in its crotch. Like skeletons in Fallout games, you could do a whole video on just that. Top Fallout skeletons. There are so many skeletons just dotting the maps of the various Fallout games, with a ton of them placed in embarrassing, goofy, or even kind of nasty poses. For Fallout 3's Broken Steel DLC, we got a skeleton that's got all 3 of those. At the end of the game, we're given the option to either destroy the Enclave platform at Adams Air Force Base or the Citadel. Choose the Citadel. It is the evil option, but it's the only way to find this particularly unique skeleton. After clearing out all the Brotherhood of Steel, you know, the folks you betrayed by destroying their base, you can go to the ruins and scavenge a lot of interesting things. And if you check this small room, you might find this guy. It's a skeleton with a fan in its crotch. I do not know why it is there. Like, is that just what this dude was into? Or maybe by some accident the fan fell in his junk during the final moments of his life? There's no way to really know. Frankly, it is goofy as hell. It's absolutely bizarre, and it's something most people probably will not unsee, considering how the entire game has you fighting the Enclave, so it'd be pretty random to just decide at the last minute to blow up your allies instead. But if you do it, this is your reward. Skeleton with a fan on its crotch. Totally worth it. At number 4 is the dance party in The Evil Within. In the DLC for The Evil Within called The Consequence, you play as Julie Kidman dealing with her own story that's running adjacent to the story of the main game. In Chapter 3, which is actually the first chapter of this DLC because it's a continuation of the Assignment DLC, there's a random vending machine you can interact with. If you interact with it 15 times, then a picture hanging on the other side of the room will fall down, revealing a peephole that you can look through. Behind it is, well, a dance party. It's got your standard enemies flailing around like crazy with light sticks. It's got one of the main enemies of the DLC, the Shade, dancing on a raised platform. And this thing's one of the creepiest creatures in the entire series. It's a pair of legs in high heels attached to what looks like a spotlight with bloody rags hanging off it. It's grotesque, it's bizarre, and it's got a very unpleasant psychosexual thing going on with it. And in this Easter egg, you see it dancing. It's bizarre, and we don't want to see this thing strutting its stuff on the dance floor, let me tell you. It's just one image we are all better off not seeing. At number 3 is Baldur Flips the Bird from God of War, the 2018 one. It's a hilarious one that nobody would even know about without some clever modders making it possible. During the opening throwdown with Baldur, in the PS4 God of War game, after Kratos snaps his neck, seemingly killing him, Baldur falls into the canyon beside them and flips off Kratos as he falls. The thing is, this is impossible to see in the game normally. Even when trying to use the camera mode feature, it's not possible because it happens during a cutscene. The only way you see this little additional joke animation is a mod which puts free camera into the game. This one's entirely on this one guy named Lance McDonald. He has a YouTube page dedicated to going out of bounds and exploring secrets in various games, and he was the only one to find this one. It's definitely naughty, and you won't see it in the opening scene of God of War, but on the same token, it makes it so you can't see it the same way ever again, because you know this is happening behind your back. At number 2, Mr. and Mrs. Hanky make a cameo in South Park: The Fractured But Whole. It's a South Park game, so of course it's filled with disgusting stuff, duh. But maybe one of the nastiest secrets is finding Mr. and Mrs. Hanky in the second South Park game. The whole game's naughty as hell because it's South Park, that's what it's about. Like, if you've watched South Park for any number of years, it doesn't even seem naughty to you, but show it to somebody who goes to church every Sunday, they might have a different opinion. To find Mr. and Mrs. Hanky, literal sentient poop, you have to travel to certain bathrooms after getting the Sandblaster power, which is, yes, a fart. This is a game where you have fart-based powers because, of course, you use the power on a clogged pipe and it reveals one of the hankies.
How? Boy, you sure cleared that giant turd.
Along with a whole mess of fecal matter. It's juvenile, it's disgusting, and it's South Park. And finally, at number 1, it's the robot lap dance from Cyberpunk 2077. This is a definite wish you could unsee one. Many cyborgs in this game are almost entirely robotic, so with a name like Robot Lap Dance, you might think you'd see something more appealing, but no, just forget about that for now. To find this thing, you need to travel to the place called the Dewdrop Inn and bust through some random door. Inside, you will see 2 military robots engaging in some private time. Yes, it's got one of these bulky robots doing a sexy dance, and it is actually pretty creepy. Imagine just wandering into this scene. It'd be like just randomly running into that bear BJ scene from The Shining. It's creepy. Well, maybe not that bad, but it is something I would rather not see. And Cyberpunk is really a game filled with risque stuff, so sometimes you are going to come up with something that's maybe a little too weird. This is one of those things. But what did you think? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, the subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.